We started dairy farming ourselves in 2004.
So we started out in the dairy with a low input system, and as time progressed we went with high intense types dairy farming, whether it be fertiliser, grains, inputs. We noticed a lot of things that just went backwards, a lot of problems with soils, grass, cattle, so it made us start to think, why? So that's how we went on this path of looking for answers.
You were the one initially that went searching, because you would come home and say, gee, the cows aren't full, you know, like what's going on? So we realised the nutrient density wasn't in the plants that we were growing.
So again, more and more inputs to try
and more
overcome
stress
those.
for us and on the land.
We dairied for 16 years and we decided a change was needed. We were tired and we just wanted a bit more family time, and it also gave us time to reevaluate what we were doing with our land. Back in about 2010 is where I started. I think it was a soil course came up in Bega, and that started us on a path of recoveries by the soil tests and started to improve things, organic matters, those types of things. But again, it just wasn't enough. So we just thought we needed to go a step further, and that's where I researched more, and hence we got onto the soil food web.
Because you start to understand the science of how everything works together. So here we are saying, well, there's life in the soil. We were farming in this much, you know.
From that we progressed on to holistic management. That really made things all come together with the grazing management. Everything else can work and it's great, but unless you got that management right, nothing will happen. It just will not work. I was raised in the old style way of farming with ploughing and cropping, fertilising. To change those practices to what we do now, it's a major shift. It's very hard to go back on tradition. It's been a hell of a learning curve. Yeah, I found the old track was boring. I found it a bit boring, and this just broadens your horizon, and we've just kept it very, very basic. We've kept fairly wide open paddocks. I use strip fencing a lot because I change my method every time I go into a paddock, depending on grass quantities and whatnot, and the given times of cattle numbers at the time, where water points are. The strip fences, that's cheap and effective. We basically just, where am I going to put up the next strip fence?
It's been difficult to change, you know, the mindset, but it's been a really positive change. Instead of growing the farm and getting bigger, we think, well, we can get some nutrient-dense plants growing, get the diversity, and then that's when the tree side of things started to come in too, didn't it?
Where we're standing at the moment is inside one of the identified areas for koala habitat restoration, funded by the Federal Australian Government. We were searching for a property, so the sort of stars aligned. We got a phone call from Di, and it really fitted in with what we were trying to do, to form linkage corridors back to Biomega National Park, just at the back here. So yeah, it fitted in really well.
So we want to take on not only the one we've just done, the substantial tree plot, we want to do more. And that's just through that relationship through Bega Trees and LLS over the years. That's how we've sort of, every time we want to do something like that, we speak to those guys.
This project in particular fits in really well with what Di and Steve are doing here. The aim of planting corridors across their property provides many benefits. One is obviously we're providing a movement corridor for future wildlife and hopefully future koala. The other benefit is it's for the landholder, it's providing shade and shelter for their property. It's multi-benefited really, doing this sort of scheme. Really excited about what we've done here. The owners are really excited. It's going to be a great project.
When you start to understand that there's life in the soil, and you know, we're hearing the birds here and amongst the trees, and it's nice, isn't it? Not having to think about tons of fertiliser that we have to order and then the price of that. You know, that's a significant pressure.
Yeah, well, you haven't got the weight on your shoulders. It's a far simpler system.
Instead of manipulating everything, you've just got to work with the land and what's in front of you.
Yeah, my way of looking at the future is everyone should try and look outside the square and have a look at these types of approaches, because for where we're heading and environment and whatever in the world, carbon sequestration, this is the way to go. It is far more sustainable instead of just having inputs and inputs, whether it's diesel inputs or fuel or fertilisers or whatnot. The less you can rely on that and go with nature, that's what I see as the future.